The stars looked wrong. Captain Deho stared at the view screen, his hands gripping the armrests of his command chair. Behind him, the bridge crew worked in tense silence. They had escaped through the wormhole 8 months ago, fleeing from Earth's final battle. 8 months of drifting through strange space, trying to find their way home. 8 months of hoping Earth had survived. Now they were back in normal space. But nothing made sense. Commander Yejin, "Run the star charts again," Deho said quietly. His first officer looked up from her console, her face pale. "Captain, I've run them 5 times. The patterns match our database, but the positions are wrong. Very wrong." "How wrong?" Yejin took a deep breath. "If the computer is correct, we've been gone for almost 300 years. The bridge fell silent. Lieutenant Jiwan stopped checking his weapon systems. Chief Engineer Minho looked up from his damage reports. "Nobody moved. That's impossible," Jiwan said finally. "We've only been gone 8 months. We have rations for 8 months. Our logs show 8 months. Time dilation," Minho said slowly. "The wormhole. We were moving at relativistic speeds. For us it was 8 months. For the universe." He trailed off. Deho closed his eyes. 300 years. If that was true, everyone they knew was dead. Their families. Their friends. Everything they had fought for. "Check for Earth signals," he ordered. "Military channels, civilian broadcasts, anything." Tech specialist Bora worked quickly, her fingers flying across her console. Minutes passed. Then she shook her head. "Nothing, Captain. Earth's distress beacons are silent. All military channels are dead. I'm picking up signals, but they're not in any language I recognize. Not even Korean? English? Chinese? No human languages at all, sir." Deho stood up slowly. His ship, the UES Indomitable, was the pride of Earth's fleet, a battleship built in the orbital yards armed with railguns and nuclear missiles. It had been humanity's hope during the first alien war. Now it might be the last piece of Earth left in the universe. "There's a colony ahead," Hyejin said, pointing at the screen. "Reading multiple structures. Large population. But Captain, the life signs, they're not human." "Any humans at all?" "Yes, but they're in one section. Looks like barracks or holding cells. The energy signatures suggest forced labor facilities." Deho's jaw tightened. "How many humans?" "Thousands. Maybe 50,000. Jiwan stood up from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting patrol ships. 3 vessels approaching our position. They're challenging us on multiple frequencies. Can you translate?" Bora nodded, working quickly. "They're demanding we identify ourselves and prepare to be boarded. They're calling us an unregistered vessel. Captain, they're treating us like we're criminals just for being here." Deho watched the 3 alien ships approach. They were larger than Earth's old destroyers, sleek and modern. His ship was damaged, running on emergency power, held together by Minho's genius and prayer. "But it was still a warship. What are they?" he asked. "Translating their identification now," Bora said. "They're Talvek Dominion patrol vessels. The colony is registered as Kalo 7, a mining operation. The humans are listed as labor assets. Labor assets. Not people. Not citizens' assets. Captain, they're powering weapons," Jiwan reported. "Energy signatures match plasma cannons. They're trying to intimidate us into compliance." Yejin moved to Deho's side. "We should run," she said quietly. "We don't know what we're facing. We need information, not a fight." She was right. It was the smart choice, the safe choice. But Deho thought about 50,000 humans living as slaves. He thought about Earth, silent and dead. He thought about 300 years of humanity suffering while he drifted through time. "Lieutenant Jiwan," he said clearly, "are our weapons operational?" Jiwan smiled grimly. "Railguns are functional. We have 6 nuclear warheads remaining. Point defense systems are online." "Captain, please," Hyejin said. "We don't know what we're starting." Deho looked at her. "We know what they've already done. Target the lead vessel. Prepare to fire on my command." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this. They had fought for this. The fact that 3 centuries had passed didn't change who they were. The Talvek ships drew closer, their weapons charging. They expected surrender. They expected fear. They had probably never seen an Earth warship before. "They're hailing us again," Bora said, more aggressive this time. "They're threatening to destroy us if we don't submit." "Weapons locked," Jiwan reported. "Fire," Deho said. The Indomitable's railguns spoke. In the silence of space, there was no sound, but the effect was immediate and devastating. Solid tungsten rods accelerated to 30% of light speed slammed into the lead Talvek ship. Their shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, did nothing against kinetic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The ship simply came apart, torn into pieces by the impact. The other two Talvek vessels scattered, trying to bring their weapons to bear, but they were too slow. The Indomitable had been built to fight and its crew knew their business. Second target locked, Jiwan said calmly. Fire. Another railgun salvo. Another Talvek ship reduced to debris. The third vessel attempted to flee, its engines burning bright as it tried to escape. Daiho considered letting it go. Then he thought about the humans below, living in chains because ships like this kept them there. Nuclear missile, he ordered. Take it down. Captain, that's excessive, Hyejin protested. It's running. It's a message, Daiho said coldly. Fire. A single nuclear warhead launched from the Indomitable's tubes. The Talvek ship's point defense tried to intercept it, but Earth's missiles were designed to penetrate defenses. The warhead detonated at close range and the electromagnetic pulse fried every system on the fleeing vessel. It tumbled away, dead in space, clean kills, Jiwan reported. No survivors detected. The bridge crew looked at each other. They had just fought their first battle in 300 years, using weapons the galaxy had probably forgotten existed, and they had won. Captain, I'm receiving multiple transmissions from the colony, Bora said. Some are alien, panicked, but some are human. They saw the battle. They're asking if we're real, if Earth sent us, if we're here to save them. Daiho sat down heavily. What could he tell them? That Earth was dead? That he was a ghost from the past? That he had just doomed them all by attacking their captors? Tell them, he began, then stopped. What was there to say? Captain, multiple signals coming in, Hyejin said urgently. The colony is reporting the attack. They're calling for reinforcements. And sir, I'm detecting a response. A large response. Minho pulled up the sensor data. Talvek battle fleet incoming. 20 ships, maybe more. They'll be here in days. Daiho nodded slowly. He had made his choice. Now humanity would pay the price, as it always did. Get me a channel to the colony, he said. All human frequencies. Bora worked her console. Channel open, sir. Daiho took a breath. This is Captain Daiho of the United Earthship Indomitable. We are here. We don't know what happened to Earth, but we're here now. Hold on. We're coming for you. On the colony below, in the cramped barracks where humans slept after 14-hour shifts in the mines, a young man named Jaewon heard the message. He had never heard of Earth. He had been born in chains. But hearing those words, hearing a human voice speaking with authority and strength, something inside him woke up. For the first time in his life, Jaewon understood what hope felt like. The asteroid field was cold and silent, perfect for hiding. The Indomitable drifted among the rocks, its hull scarred and bleeding atmosphere from a dozen small breaches. Inside, Chief Engineer Minho ran from section to section, cursing in Korean and patching holes with whatever he could find. How bad is it? Captain Daiho asked as he entered the engine room. Minho wiped sweat from his forehead. Bad. The wormhole damaged our power core. The battle stressed our hull. We can fight again. Maybe once, maybe twice. After that? He shrugged. We become a very expensive coffin, Daiho nodded. He had expected as much. The Indomitable was 300 years old, built with technology the galaxy had moved past. Every battle brought them closer to the end. Can you wake the Marines? He asked. Minho's expression changed. The cryo bay? Captain, I haven't checked those systems in months. If something went wrong during the wormhole transit, I need soldiers, Minho. Check it. The engineer left, muttering to himself. Daiho moved to the bridge where Commander Hyejin was coordinating with tech specialist Bora. We've been listening to transmissions, Hyejin said. The galaxy has changed, Captain. There are dozens of alien species, all organized into political blocks. The Talvek Dominion controls this sector. They're militaristic, expansionist. Humans are scattered across hundreds of colony worlds, all of them serving as labor. Slaves, Daiho said flatly. They don't use that word, but yes. Slaves. Bora pulled up a display. I've been trying to access historical records, but most are encrypted or restricted. What I can piece together is that Earth fell quickly. The Talvek overwhelmed our defenses. Billions died. The survivors were transported to various worlds. What about Earth itself? Bora hesitated. There's something still there. I'm detecting a signal, very faint. It's been broadcasting for centuries. Some kind of automated system. What's it saying? I can't decode it from here. We'd have to get closer. Much closer. Deho stared at the star chart. Earth was months away, and they barely had supplies for weeks. Every choice was impossible. Lieutenant Jiwon entered the bridge. Captain, we have a visitor. A small ship just exited jump near our position. Single pilot. He's requesting permission to dock, and how did he find us? He says he followed our energy signature from Kilo 7. He's human, Captain. That changed things. Deho went to the docking bay personally, his sidearm ready. When the airlock opened, a thin man in worn flight gear stumbled through. He looked around the docking bay with wide eyes, touching the Earth military insignia on the wall like it was holy. It's real. The man whispered. They said you were real, but I didn't believe it. An Earth warship. An actual military vessel. Who are you? Deho asked. Taehyung. I'm a smuggler. I move supplies between colonies. Help people who can't get help otherwise. He turned to face Deho. You're Captain Deho? The one who killed those Talvek ships? Yes. Taehyung laughed, but it was bitter. Do you know what you've done? They executed 10,000 humans. Random selection. Punishment for your attack. Men, women, children. They lined them up and shot them while broadcasting it to every human colony in the sector. Deho felt the words like a physical blow. Hyejin, who had followed him, grabbed his arm to steady him. They wanted us to know, Taehyung continued. Every time a human resists, they kill hundreds. Every time we fight back, they make examples. That's how they've kept us down for 3 centuries. Fear. Overwhelming, crushing fear. Then why are you here? Deho asked quietly. Because I'm tired of being afraid. Because seeing those Talvek ships burn made me remember that humans used to fight back. And because someone wants to meet you. Her name is Yuna. She runs a resistance network across 12 colonies. She sent me to tell you to stop fighting before you doom us all. They moved to a briefing room. Taehyung explained the situation using a portable display. The resistance was fragmented, careful, focused on survival rather than victory. They smuggled supplies, helped people escape the worst labor camps, and preserved human culture in secret. We don't fight, Taehyung said. We can't. The Talvek have too many ships, too many soldiers. Every uprising in the last 300 years ended in mass executions. Then you just accept it? Jiwon said angrily. You just live as slaves? We live, Taehyung shot back. That's more than Earth managed. You want to start a war? Fine. But understand that every human colony will pay the price in blood. An alarm interrupted the argument. Minho's voice came over the intercom. Captain, you need to get down here now. The cryo bay was a massive chamber filled with rows of sleeping pods. Minho stood beside one pod with its lid open. Inside, a man in marine combat armor sat up slowly, his eyes adjusting to the light. Lieutenant Sung-hoon, Deho said. Welcome back. The Marine looked around, confused.
Captain.
How long was I out? Where's the fleet? A long time, Deho said. And the fleet is gone. Let me explain. It took an hour to wake all 200 Marines and brief them on the situation. Lieutenant Sung-hoon listened in silence, his face growing harder with each revelation. When Deho finished, Sung-hoon stood up. So we're the last, he said. The last Earth military unit in existence. Yes. And humanity has been enslaved for 3 centuries. Yes. Sung-hoon looked at his Marines. They were young, most of them. They had volunteered to sleep through the long voyage home, trusting they would wake to victory or at least continuing war. Instead, they woke to extinction. What are your orders, Captain? Sung-hoon asked. Before Deho could answer, Bora's voice came over the intercom. Captain, I've decoded that signal from Earth. You need to hear this. They gathered in the communications room. Bora played the transmission. It was old. The audio degraded by centuries, but the words were clear. This is Memory Keeper broadcasting from Earth. I am an artificial intelligence created to preserve human history and culture. Earth has fallen. Billions are dead. But I remain. I will tell your story. I will remember what you were. I will broadcast until the stars go cold. You were builders. You were dreamers. You were warriors. You were human. Remember Earth. Remember yourselves. The message repeated over and over for 300 years. Alone in the ruins, an AI kept humanity's memory alive. Dr. Yoonji spoke for the first time since the Marines woke. We're not the last. As long as that signal broadcasts, as long as humans remember what they were, we're not finished. Taehyung pulled up a map. I can get you in contact with Yuna. But you should know the Talvek are mobilizing. They're not going to let Kelo 7 stand. They're sending a fleet. How big? Heejin asked. 20 ships. Maybe more. They'll glass the colony from orbit. Kill everyone as an example? Daeho looked at the faces around him, his crew exhausted and scared. The Marines lost in a future they didn't understand. Taehyung, representing a resistance that had learned helplessness. We're going back, Daeho said. Captain, that's suicide, Heejin protested. Maybe, but those people heard my message. I told them we were coming. I won't abandon them. They'll die anyway, Taehyung said. The Talvek have too many ships, Minho cleared his throat. There might be a way. Before Earth fell, we were developing new weapons, antimatter warheads. The theory was sound, but we never finished the prototypes. If I had time and resources, I could complete one. What do you need? Daeho asked. Exotic materials. Antimatter containment systems. Things I can't make here. Things the Talvek have, Jiwon said, understanding. On their stations, Lieutenant Sung-hoon smiled grimly. You want us to raid a Talvek military installation, steal their equipment, and build a weapon that might destroy us all? Yes, Daeho said. Sung-hoon looked at his Marines. Finally, a proper mission. When do we leave? Taehyung stared at them like they were insane. Maybe they were. But Daeho remembered the words of the memory keeper. You were warriors. You were human. Contact your resistance leader, Daeho told Taehyung. Tell her we're hitting Kelos orbital station. If she wants to help, we need people on the inside. If not, stay out of our way. Taehyung left to send the message. Heejin pulled Daeho aside. We might not survive this, she said quietly. I know. But you're doing it anyway. Yes. She smiled sadly. That's what makes us human, isn't it? Doing the impossible because it's right. Or because we're too stupid to know better, Daeho said. Maybe both. In the asteroid field, the crew of the Indomitable prepared for war. Jaewon had never seen a real weapon before. The Talvek allowed humans to use mining tools, but nothing that could be used to fight. Now he held a piece of metal pipe in his hands and tried to imagine using it as a club. Around him, 3,000 humans gathered in the maintenance tunnels beneath Kelos Station. They were miners, technicians, cleaning staff. People who had never fought in their lives, but they had seen the Indomitable destroy 3 Talvek ships and something had awakened in them. They're coming, whispered Chief Technician Dong-hyuk. He was older, had worked on the station for 20 years, knew every system. The Earth ship. They're really coming. How do you know? Jaewon asked. Dong-hyuk held up a small device. I've been monitoring communications. The Talvek are scrambling. They're calling for reinforcements, repositioning ships. Something has them scared. Above them on the station's command deck, Warden Kaeltor paced angrily. He had received reports of the ghost ship approaching at high speed. 20 warships were moving to intercept, but they wouldn't arrive in time. All defensive systems online, he ordered. Launch all fighters, prepare to repel boarders, and if those human animals in the lower levels cause trouble, vent those sections to space. His second officer hesitated. Sir, that's 50,000 humans. The production quotas will be meaningless if we're dead. To it. On the Indomitable, Captain Daeho watched the station grow larger on his view screen. It was massive, a military installation that dwarfed his ship. Defensive platforms surrounded it, each armed with plasma cannons. Fighter craft swarmed like angry insects. We're outnumbered 20-1, Lieutenant Jiwon reported. Then make every shot count, Daeho said. Commander Hanul, launch fighters. The Indomitable's fighter bay opened and 12 Earth interceptors launched into space. They were old pre-war designs, slower than modern Talvek craft. But their pilots had trained for the war that killed Earth, and they flew with desperate skill. Commander Hanul led the squadron personally. She had been asleep in cryo-storage for 3 centuries, dreaming of the battles she never got to fight. Now she got her chance. Break and attack, she ordered. Hit and fade. Don't give them a clean shot. The Earth fighters scattered, using the debris field around the station for cover. Talvek fighters pursued, faster and more maneuverable, but Hanul and her pilots used tactics the aliens didn't expect. They fought like they were already dead, taking risks no sane pilot would attempt. One Talvek fighter exploded. Then another. The odds were still terrible, but the Earth pilots were holding. Prepare for boarding action, Lieutenant Sung-hoon said to his Marines. They stood in the drop pods. 200 soldiers in battered armor armed with ballistic weapons 3 centuries old. Remember your training. Close quarters, controlled aggression. These aliens have never fought humans before. Let's educate them. The Indomitable shuddered as it took fire from the defensive platforms. Alarms blared. Sections began losing atmosphere. Hull breaches on decks 5 and 7, Minho reported from engineering. I'm rerouting power to shields. Forget the shields, Deho ordered. All power to weapons and engines. We only need to survive long enough to get the Marines aboard. That's insane, Commander Heejin said. Yes, Deho agreed. Fire, the railgun spoke. Tungsten rods crossed the space between ship and station at relativistic speeds. The defensive platforms had shields designed for energy weapons. Kinetic projectiles punched through them like paper. 3 platforms exploded. 4. The Talvek had never seen weapons like this. Their shields were useless. Their armor was meaningless. The Earthship was killing them with chunks of metal moving faster than their sensors could track. Drop pods away, Sung Hoon reported. The pods launched from the Indomitable, small and hard to track, accelerating toward the station's hull. Talvek Point Defense tried to intercept them, but the Earthship's remaining fighters ran interference, drawing fire. 30 seconds to impact, Sung Hoon said calmly. Around him, Marines checked their weapons one last time. Some prayed. Others just stared ahead, faces blank. The pods hit the station's hull and burned through, using shaped charges to create breaches. Marines poured through into corridors filled with surprised Talvek guards. The fighting was brutal and close. Ballistic weapons barked in the confined spaces. Talvek plasma weapons burned through walls. Marines fell, but they kept pushing forward, room by room, corridor by corridor. Medic, someone shouted. Nari rushed forward, her hands already covered in blood. She had been a doctor on Earth, volunteered for the military to help protect her home. Now she worked in a nightmare, trying to save Marines who were more torn than whole. She saw things in those corridors that would haunt her forever, evidence of what the Talvek had done to humans. Bodies that showed signs of torture, children who had been worked to death. This wasn't a labor colony. It was an extermination camp that happened slowly. Keep moving, Sung Hoon ordered. He shot a Talvek officer at point-blank range, then moved to the next door. We secure the command center, we control the station. Below, in the maintenance tunnels, Jaewon heard the sounds of battle echoing through the walls. Dongyuk checked his device. Now, he said. Do it now. Jaewon and the others emerged from the tunnels into the station's lower levels. Talvek guards turned in surprise, not expecting an attack from behind. The humans overwhelmed them with numbers, with fury, with 3 centuries of rage finally unleashed. It wasn't a battle. It was a riot. Humans poured through the station like a flood, attacking anything that wasn't human. They had no training, no coordination, but they had hate, and that was enough. Warden Kaeltor watched his security feeds in growing horror. His station was being overrun from inside and outside. The ghost ship was tearing apart his defenses. Human animals were attacking his guards. Vent the lower levels, he ordered again. I can't, sir, his officer said. They've taken environmental control. They've locked us out. Donghyuk smiled as he rerouted the life support systems. The humans knew this station better than the Talvek. They had built it. They had maintained it. Now they were taking it back. Sung Hoon's Marines reached the command center. Talvek officers tried to mount a defense, but they were scientists and administrators, not soldiers. The Marines swept through them. Secure the room, Sung Hoon ordered. Get me communications with the Indomitable. Warden Kaeltor stood in the center of the command deck, his weapon drawn. You're animals, he spat. We brought order to your species. We gave you purpose. Sung Hoon looked at him calmly. You made us slaves. Now we're going to make you regret it. He shot Kaeltor once precisely, and the warden fell. On the Indomitable, Deho heard Sung Hoon's voice over the radio. Captain, the station is ours. 50,000 humans freed. And sir, we found what Minho needs. The containment systems, the exotic materials, it's all here. Deho slumped in his chair. They had done it. Against impossible odds, they had won. Casualties? He asked. 47 Marines dead. Hundreds of colonists. But we won, Captain. We actually won. Commander Hanul's fighters returned to the Indomitable, limping and damaged. She had lost 4 pilots, good men and women who would never see what their sacrifice bought. The station was theirs, but the cost had been terrible. Nari worked for hours trying to save everyone she could. She failed too often. Every death felt personal. Jaewon stood in the station's observation deck looking out at the stars. He had killed 3 Talvek today. His hand still shook. But around him other humans were crying, laughing, embracing. They were free. What happens now? He asked Dongyuk. The old technician shook his head. I don't know. But did you see that ship? That's Earth technology. That's what we used to be. Maybe we can be that again. On the Indomitable's bridge, Bora was receiving messages from across the sector. The battle had been seen on multiple worlds. Humans everywhere were talking about the ghost ship that fought back. But there was other news. Bad news, Captain, she said quietly. The Talvek are assembling a fleet. A big one. 20 times the size of what we just fought. They're coming to make an example of us. Deho nodded. He had expected this. You don't humiliate an empire without consequences. How long? He asked. 8 days. Maybe 9. 8 days to prepare for the end. 8 days to decide if they would run or fight. 8 days before the galaxy learned whether humanity's return meant anything at all. In the ruins of the command center, Sung-hoon found something interesting. A communication system still active, connected to every Talvek military installation in the sector. Captain, he said over the radio, I think we can send a message. A big one. What do you want to say? Deho thought about the humans on hundreds of worlds living in chains. He thought about Earth silent and dead. He thought about the memory keeper, broadcasting humanity's story to an uncaring universe. Tell them we're here, he said. Tell them Earth hasn't forgotten. Tell them to hold on. The message went out across the sector and the galaxy began to pay attention. Chief Engineer Minho hadn't slept in 3 days. He stood in the engineering bay surrounded by salvaged Talvek equipment, trying to build a weapon that existed only in theory. His hands shook from exhaustion and too much coffee. This is impossible, he muttered, adjusting the antimatter containment field for the 100th time. The calculations are perfect, but the materials keep degrading. I need more time. We don't have more time, Captain Deho said from behind him. The Talvek fleet arrives in 5 days. Then we'll die with an incomplete weapon. Is that better? Deho didn't answer. He watched Minho work, saw the desperation in every movement. They had won a battle, but the war was just beginning. On Kilo 7, the freed colonists were learning what freedom meant. Elder Sujin, the oldest human alive at 93, stood in the central square teaching children songs from Earth. She had been born on Earth, had seen the blue sky before the Talvek came. Most humans thought she was telling stories. This is called Arirang, she said, her voice cracking with age. It's a Korean folk song older than the war. My grandmother taught it to me. Now I teach it to you. She sang, and the younger humans listened in wonder. They had never heard music that wasn't work chants or whispered in secret. This was different. This was culture. This was identity. Young Gi-hun, only 14 years old, listened carefully and memorized every word. He had been born in the mines, knew nothing but rocks and darkness. Now he stood in sunlight free for the first time and learned he was part of something bigger than survival. Will the Earthship save us? He asked when the song ended. Sujin touched his face gently. That ship is 300 years old, child. It's held together by hope and stubbornness. It cannot save us, but maybe it can remind us how to save ourselves. Lieutenant Sung-hoon was trying to do exactly that. He stood in a makeshift training field, watching 5,000 colonists attempt basic military drills. They were terrible. They held weapons wrong, moved without coordination, and broke formation constantly. Again, he shouted. When I say left, you go left. When I say right, you go right. When I say fire, you shoot at the enemy, not each other. Jaewon tried his best, but the rifle felt strange in his hands. He had spent his life mining rocks, not fighting wars. But he listened to Sung-hoon's instructions and practiced until his shoulders ached. Why are we doing this? Another colonist asked during a break. The Talvek have warships. We have old rifles. Because when they land, Sung-hoon said coldly, they'll send soldiers. Soldiers die when you shoot them. You want to survive? Learn to shoot. On the Indomitable, Dr. Yoonji was having an argument with Commander Hyejin. The doctor had discovered something in the salvaged Talvek data files that changed everything. Look at this, Yoonji said, pulling up ancient records. The first contact between humans and Talvek wasn't an invasion. We called them. Earth sent a distress signal into deep space and the Talvek responded. A distress signal? Why? Because we woke something. Some kind of ancient threat from beyond known space. The Talvek came to help contain it, but humans panicked. We shot first. The war started because of a misunderstanding. Hyejin stared at the data. Are you saying Earth's destruction was our fault? I'm saying the truth is complicated. The Talvek overreacted by enslaving humanity, but we started the chain of events. Does it matter now? Yunji sighed. It matters if we're going to use weapons of mass destruction against them. It matters if we're going to become the monsters we're fighting. On Talvar Prime, the Talvek capital world, Supreme Overlord Krenthal addressed his war council. He was old, had ruled for 60 years, and was not accustomed to defeat. One ship, he said, his voice filled with contempt. One primitive human ship has humiliated us, destroyed a patrol squadron, captured a military station, inspired rebellion across 12 colonies. The humans used kinetic weapons, a general reported. Our shields were not designed to stop solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. It was a tactical surprise, then adapt. I want that ship destroyed and every human on Kalo 7 executed, publicly, slowly. I want every human colony to watch and remember what happens when animals bite their masters. The fleet assembled. 200 warships, the largest force the Talvek had mobilized in decades. It was excessive, wasteful, and absolutely necessary. The Supreme Overlord would not tolerate further defiance. Ambassador Isul arrived at Kalo 7 3 days before the fleet. She was human, but had served the Talvek for 20 years as a diplomatic liaison. Many humans called her a traitor. She called herself a survivor. I need to speak with Captain Deho, she told the guards at the landing pad. They brought her to the Indomitable. Deho met her in a briefing room with Hyejin and Jiwan present. I bring an offer from the Talvek, Isul said. Surrender your ship and they will spare the colony. Refuse and everyone dies. No, Deho said simply. You don't understand. The fleet coming here can destroy this entire planet. 200 warships. You cannot win. Then we'll die fighting. Isul slammed her hand on the table. You're not the one who will die. These colonists, these children, they'll pay for your pride. I've spent 20 years keeping humans alive by cooperating. You've destroyed that in days. Jiwan stood up angrily. You mean you've spent 20 years bowing to aliens while humans suffered? I've spent 20 years preventing genocides. Isul shouted back. Every time humans resist, thousands die. Tens of thousands. You think you're heroes? You're murderers. Deho remained calm. If survival means eternal slavery, then maybe death is preferable. Easy to say when you slept through 3 centuries of suffering. That hit hard. Deho had no response. He had slept while generations lived and died in chains. The offer stands for 2 days, Isul said. After that, the fleet arrives and nothing can save you. She left. Hyejin turned to Deho. Is she right? Hyejin asked quietly. Are we condemning these people? I don't know, Deho admitted. But I can't surrender. If we do, humanity stays broken forever. That night, Taehyung arrived with news from Yuna's resistance network. The message was not encouraging. 40 colonies are ready to rise up when the fleet attacks, he reported. But Yuna says we're mad. The Talvek will crush us, then take revenge on every human world. She thinks we've doomed the species. Maybe we have, Deho said. But doing nothing was also doom. Slower, quieter, but still doom. Minho appeared in the doorway, covered in grease and looking half dead. It's done, he said. The antimatter warhead. 1 use, 1 target. And Captain, there's a catch. The containment will only hold for 5 minutes after activation. We have to be close. Very close. How close? 10,000 kilometers. In naval terms, that's knife fighting range. The explosion will likely destroy us too. A suicide weapon. Yes. Deho looked at his crew. Hyejin, who wanted to preserve what remained of humanity. Jiwan, who wanted revenge. Minho, who had built them a doomsday device. They were tired, scared, and out of options. We have 2 days, Deho said. Minho hissed. You're no good to us dead. Jiwan, work with Sung-hoon on the ground defenses. Hyejin, coordinate with the resistance networks. Taehyung, I need every ship you can find, old, new, broken, anything that can fly and shoot. Captain, what are you planning? Hyejin asked. I'm planning to make the Talvek regret ever coming to this sector. We can't win, but we can make them pay. Make them pay so much that the next time they think about enslaving a human world, they hesitate. On the second day, tech specialist Bora discovered the quantum beacon in the ship's communications array. It was old technology designed to send messages across vast distances instantly. We could signal for help, she said. Broadcast to the entire galaxy. Tell them what's happening here. Who would answer? Jiwan asked. Who cares about humans? Maybe no one, Deho said. But they'll know. They'll know humans fought back. They'll know we didn't go quietly. He thought about the memory keeper on Earth, broadcasting humanity's story to an empty universe. Maybe that was all they could do. Tell their story and hope someone listened. Prepare the message, Deho ordered. We send it when the fleet arrives. Let the galaxy watch what happens when you push humans too far. On Kelo 7, Jaewon stood watch with his rifle, looking at the stars. Somewhere up there, 200 warships were coming to kill everyone he knew. It should have terrified him. Instead, he felt strangely calm. He thought about Elder Sujin's songs. He thought about the Indomitable, burning through space to save people it had never met. He thought about Captain Deho's message. We're coming for you. They had come. They had fought. They had won. Maybe they would lose tomorrow. But for these few days, Jaewon had been free. He had been human. That had to count for something. The fleet would arrive at dawn. The Talvik Armada arrived like a storm made of metal and fire. 200 warships dropped out of jump space at the edge of the Kelo 7 system, their weapons already charging. On the flagship Talron, Supreme Overlord Krenthal watched the tactical display with satisfaction. One human ship, he said to his officers. One ancient, damaged battleship. This will be over in minutes. Then his sensors officer spoke, confusion in his voice. Sir, I'm detecting multiple contacts. The human ship is there, but there are others. 15 vessels in defensive formation. Krenthal leaned forward. What kind of vessels? Mixed classes, sir. Some are human civilian ships modified with weapons. Others appear to be from minor species. And sir, I'm detecting energy signatures from the planet. Orbital defense platforms, that's impossible. Those were destroyed centuries ago. They've been reactivated, sir. Ancient human weapon systems. They're coming online now. On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Deho watched his ragtag fleet take position. Taehyung had performed a miracle, gathering ships from everywhere. Some were human smuggling vessels. Others belonged to species who had their own grievances with the Talvik. None were warships, but all had weapons. Around the planet, Earth's old defense satellites woke from centuries of sleep. Tech specialist Bora had found them in the system's debris field and coaxed them back to life. They were obsolete, fragile, and beautiful. All ships, this is Captain Deho. Today we stand together. We probably won't survive, but we'll make them remember. Fire at will. The Talvik fleet advanced in formation, confident in their superiority. The human ship had been lucky once. Luck didn't hold. The defense satellites fired first. Ancient railguns launched solid projectiles at targets that had never faced kinetic weapons. 3 Talvik ships took critical hits before they even realized they were under attack. Return fire, Krenthal ordered. Destroy those satellites! Plasma cannons lit up space, burning through the defense platforms one by one. The satellites died, but they had bought precious seconds. The Indomitable's railguns spoke next. Lieutenant Jiwon had learned from the previous battle. He didn't waste shots. Every tungsten rod found a target, punching through shields that weren't designed to stop them. Commander Hanul's fighters launched, 12 interceptors diving into the Talvik formation. They were outnumbered 50-1, but they flew like demons, using debris and wreckage for cover. Target their command ships, Hanul ordered. Ignore the fighters. Hit the big ones. Her pilots obeyed, screaming past Talvik interceptors to strike at capital ships. 3 human fighters died in the first minute. The others kept pushing forward. Taehyung's civilian fleet joined the battle, their improvised weapons barely scratching Talvik armor. But they drew fire, gave the Indomitable breathing room, and proved that humans weren't alone. On the planet's surface, Jaewon watched the battle through a telescope. Explosions lit up the sky. Ships died in silence. He gripped his rifle and waited for the landing craft. They're coming down, Lieutenant Sung-hoon said, studying his tactical display.
60 dropships heading for the colony.
Everyone to defensive positions. 5,000 colonists moved to their assigned places. They weren't soldiers. They were miners and technicians and farmers. But they had weapons and they had rage. The first dropship landed in the colony square. Talvik soldiers poured out, expecting easy targets. Instead, they met massed rifle fire from windows and rooftops. The aliens fell, surprised by the ferocity of the defense. Hold your positions, Sung-hoon shouted. Make them pay for every meter. Young Gi-hoon fired his rifle with shaking hands. He missed more than he hit, but he kept firing. Beside him, Elder Sujin loaded magazines with practiced efficiency. singing old Earth songs to keep the young fighters calm. In space, the battle turned desperate. The Indomitable took hit after hit. Hull breaches vented atmosphere. Power fluctuated. Chief Engineer Minho rerouted systems, stole power from life support, kept the ship fighting when it should have been dead. "We can't hold," Commander Hyejin reported. "Hull integrity at 30%. We've lost main engines. Weapons are failing. All ships fall back to the planet," Deho ordered. "Protect the colony." "Captain, that's suicide," Hyejin said. "The fleet will follow us down and finish us." "I know." "Prepare the antimatter warhead." Hyejin stared at him. "You're going to ram the flagship, unless you have a better idea." She didn't. On the Talron, Supreme Overlord Krenthal watched the human ship limp toward the planet. "Finish it!" All forward batteries fire. The Talvek flagship and its escorts unleashed everything. Plasma cannons burned through space. The Indomitable's shields collapsed. Armor melted. Sections exploded. Dr. Unji ran through corridors filled with smoke and fire, trying to reach wounded crew members. She found them everywhere, broken and dying. She did what she could, knowing it wasn't enough. "All hands abandon ship," Deho ordered. "Get to the life pods." "That's an order." Most obeyed. They fled to escape pods and launched toward the planet. But some stayed. Hyejin remained at her post. Jiwan stayed at weapons. Minho stayed in engineering, keeping the dying ship alive a few minutes longer. Bora stayed at communications, transmitting everything to Earth's memory keeper. "Let the galaxy see." "Let them witness, Captain. Life pods away," Hyejin reported. "Just us left." "And Captain, Dr. Unji made it off. She has the genetic samples, the cultural archives. Something will survive." "Good," Deho said. "Minho's status on the warhead?" "Armed and stable. We need to get within 10,000 kilometers of their flagship. Then let's give them a surprise, full burn, all remaining power to engines." The Indomitable lurched forward, acceleration crushing the remaining crew into their seats. They flew toward the Talvek flagship like an arrow, damaged and bleeding but still dangerous. Krenthal saw them coming too late. "Evasive maneuvers! All point defense, target that ship!" Energy weapons lashed out, tearing chunks from the Indomitable's hull. But the Earthship kept coming, kept accelerating, driven by the last gasps of its ancient engines. 5,000 kilometers, Minho reported. 4,000. 3,000. "Captain, I'm detecting energy readings from the human ship," a Talvek officer reported. "Something's building power. Some kind of weapon." 2,000 kilometers, Minho said. "Captain, we're in range." Deho looked at his crew. Hyejin, who had argued for caution and stayed anyway. Jiwan, who wanted revenge and found something better. Minho, who had built them one last miracle. Bora, making sure their story survived. "It's been an honor," he said simply. "Honor, hell," Minho said. "Let's light this candle." He triggered the antimatter warhead. For a moment, a new sun appeared in the Kilo 7 system. The antimatter reacted with matter in a perfect conversion of mass to energy. The Indomitable vanished instantly, along with the Talvek flagship and 30 surrounding warships. The shockwave swept through both fleets. Ships tumbled. Systems failed. The Talvek formation broke apart in chaos. On the planet, everyone stopped fighting to watch the light fade. "They did it," Jaewon whispered. "They actually did it." Elder Sujin wept quietly. She had seen Earth fall. Now she saw Earth fight back one last time. The Talvek fleet, leaderless and shocked, began to retreat. They had come to punish one colony and lost their supreme overlord and a third of their fleet. The lesson learned was not the one they intended. Days later, Dr. Yunji stood in the makeshift command center on Kelo 7. She had survived. The genetic samples had survived. The Indomitable's complete data files had survived. Lieutenant Sung-hoon entered, limping from a wound. "The Talvek are gone. All 40 colonies that rose up are reporting victories. The Dominion is in chaos. And us?" Yunji asked. "We're free, for now. They'll come back eventually. Then we'd better be ready." Yuna arrived from off-world, her resistance network now a provisional government. She met with the survivors and tried to build something from the ashes. "Captain Deho started something," she said. "We need to finish it. We need a real military, a real fleet. We need to become what Earth was." Young Gi-hun, promoted to communications officer after showing aptitude, received a transmission from deep space. "It's the memory keeper," he said. "The AI on Earth. It's broadcasting Captain Deho's final words along with our victory. The whole galaxy is hearing the story. Months passed. Then a year. The Talvec Dominion fractured as multiple species saw weakness and struck. The Rissian Collective offered protection to human colonies, which meant new forms of control, but with room to negotiate. 10 years later, Jawan stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable II. The new ship was built from salvaged technology and new innovations, a bridge between Earth's past and humanity's future. He was a senator now, but sometimes he liked to visit the ships named after heroes. Young Gi-hun, now 24 and a pilot, took the helm. Course plotted for Earth, sir. Estimated arrival 3 months. Take us home, Jawan said. Time to see what the Memory Keeper has been protecting all these years. Kalo 7 had become New Earth, the capital of free humanity. Thousands of freed humans lived there, building cities and farms and schools. They taught their children about Captain Deho and the Indomitable. They sang Elder Sujin's songs. Dr. Yunji led the genetic revival program, ensuring humanity's future was diverse and healthy. She never remarried, never spoke much about what happened. But sometimes late at night she would look at the stars where the